Hi friends, this video is for those students that maybe don't have access to print out the Tessellation Stencil worksheet. If you are able to print this out, I highly recommend printing this out and picking from one of these shapes. It's a bit easier, but if you cannot do that, then I will show you how to make your own stencil using just your paper, ruler, pencils, and a scissors. Okay, so what you need to do first is grab a white piece of paper. It doesn't have to be square like mine. This was just scrap paper I was using. And I'm going to start at the corner, and I'm just going to make a square that's 3 inches by 3 inches. So I'm going to take my ruler. I'm going to measure 3 inches here. I'm just going to put a little line where the 3 is. I'm going to make a little line where the 3 is here. Okay. And then I'm going to draw the straight lines creating a square. Okay. I'm going to make a line here. And then I'm going to make a line here going down to create my 3-inch square. Okay, and then I'm going to cut that square out. We will use the rest of the paper, so don't throw that paper away. Okay, so we have our square. Now we are going to be drawing a shape that goes from the top of our square and also a shape on the side. So it kind of goes from the side, kind of cuts in. It doesn't matter what kind of shape you create. I'm going to go from one corner, maybe I'm going to do a wavy line. And do a wavy line back up. Okay, so it's a shape on the top part of your shape here. Okay, it could be any kind of shape as long as both lines are ending at the top. I do kind of go across most of the shape here because I want to make sure that it lines up perfectly. If you do one in the center and only do like a little piece, you have to make sure that it goes exactly on the other side. It can get kind of confusing. So I just kind of go from one edge to the next. Now I'm going to do another shape. Maybe this one I'm going to do a zigzag that goes in, and a zigzag that goes back out. Okay? Again, I'm going from the top corner to the bottom corner here. Okay? So I have a shape on top, and I have a shape on the side. It has to be touching the top, it has to be touching the side. 2 separate shapes. Okay? I would draw this in pencil, and then we're going to cut them out. Don't get rid of these pieces though. Okay? So I'm going to cut on this line here, and I'm going to save this piece. I'm going to cut this little shape out here. Don't throw away the pieces. We need them. In order for our stencil to be a puzzle piece, we want to make sure that we're following along this line. We want it one whole shape. All right, there we go. Alrighty, so I have both my shapes, my shape that's cut out of the top and my shape that's cut out of the side. Now these pieces, I'm just going to kind of line them up where they're supposed to go. Okay. Exact same. You don't want to flip them by accident. All mine have the pencil line facing up because you can see I didn't cut directly on that line there. That's okay. I'm just lining it up because it would go into these spaces. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the side that's opposite. So on the left side, I'm going to make this piece go on the right. Okay. On the top here, I'm going to make this piece go on the bottom. Now, if you have a piece of tape, you can tape these little pieces down so that they don't move, and you're going to trace around all of your stencil onto another piece of paper to cut out one whole shape. Now if you don't have tape, I'm going to show you what you can do. We can hold these pieces to the sides as we trace them. Okay? So I'm going to get that extra piece of paper. I'm going to do this with a Sharpie just so you can see it better, and I'm just going to, and you know what, maybe I'll do this on, now you can do this on a another colored piece of paper, and I think I'm going to do that just so that you can see, but you're going to do it on a white piece of paper. If it's harder for you to see, you definitely can use a colored piece of paper. It doesn't really matter. This is just going to be a stencil. This might be a little bit easier to see. That's what I'm thinking. Okay, so again, I'm going to line up these pieces here. My colored piece of paper. Okay. I'm not going to worry about these sides just yet because it's a lot of pieces to hold in place if you don't have tape. If you did tape it, you can place it down, you can trace around the whole shape. But I'm just going to start with the sides that I cut out of, holding my stencil down. Okay, stop there. I'm going to do the other side here. Again, tracing around. I'm kind of pressing my Sharpie, or if you're using a pencil, up against the edge of my piece of paper. Now I'm going to take this little piece. Again, if you have it taped, it's a lot easier. You can just trace around this, but I'm going to hold this here. I'm going to trace around it. Okay, so we're done that side. I'm going to get rid of it so that it doesn't get in the way. And then, of course, the bottom. Okay, I'm going to line it up, tracing around it best I can. All right, and then I'm going to take my shapes away. So this is going to be my tessellation shape. So what I'm going to do is, now that it's one whole shape, I'm going to cut my shape out. Again, if you have access to a printer and you can print those other little tessellations already made, I would recommend doing that because it's a little tricky. But if not, now you know how to make your own tessellation stencil. This is going to, the reason why we put it on the opposite sides is because we want it to fit into each other like a puzzle piece. So I'm going to very carefully cut this out, trying to be as precise as I can with cutting on a line, because that's going to make a difference when we go to trace it onto our paper here. Using a color paper is a good idea for this because then you can see it a little bit better. I also go on the outer edge of the black line so that we have that black line to follow as well. Being nice and careful as you cut all these little shapes out. Okay, now we have our tessellation stencil. We will use this on our square piece of paper, or I'm sorry, rectangle piece of paper if that's what you have. We're going to be using it to trace. And as you are tracing your stencil, you're going to notice that it fits in perfectly like a puzzle piece. And that's why you can kind of see this shape is mimicked on this side, and same here, because they're going to fit into each other like a puzzle. Now take your stencil and look at it, turn it around here and there to see if you can see any images. You know what I see? I see a frog with a little top hat. It can be silly, it can be goofy, it doesn't have to be exact, but I see his little frog legs, I see his little frog mouth, and a little top hat. So when I go to trace, what I might do is have it facing in the direction that my frog is going to go. Okay? And in that next video, it will show you how to trace your tessellation stencil.